Well, it's been 7, 8 months since I moved on from work, and originally it was a hard one to fill time in, but football has this uncanny knack of helping you. You know, whether it be media or whether it be coaches inviting you to training grounds. So that's what I've been doing. I've been spending my time mostly at games and mostly at training ground, training facilities. You know, I went to see Sir Alex Ferguson work at Manchester United. I went to see Roberto Mancini work at Manchester City. I went to see Ian Holloway working at Blackpool, Sam Allardyce at Blackpool. Fortunately, where I'm based in Bolton is quite central, and I can access maybe 6, 7, 8 Premier League grounds within a 50-mile radius, which is very good for me. But it's not just about Premier League football. I actually do, and I enjoy going to see second division, first division, and championship games as well. So I've been occupying myself with football, but it's more on the media side of things as opposed to coaching. But today, I've been across to Singapore and had 2 clinics in Singapore. This is my second clinic in Kuala Lumpur, and it's nice to be back on the training ground, regardless of whether you're playing with or working with professionals. It's nice to be back on the training ground with people who want to play football.
So what would you say are some of your biggest lessons you learned as a manager?
Biggest lessons are, you know, quite simply, you need to win games of football to stay in the game. But it's my biggest lesson is to maybe winning and losing. I trick winning probably too much on a high and losing too much on a low, and being more consistent is maybe the biggest lesson that I need to learn. You know, so when you come on the training ground, your message is consistent to the players, you know, so they don't see the massive highs and the massive lows, but see more of a regular guy, you know.
Would you say you prefer to manage more of the Premier League side rather than the Champions?
Well, for me, the Premier League is the only place in the world for, you know, where football's concerned, but that's me being biased where English is concerned. You know, there's some great divisions elsewhere. I've been enjoying watching Champions League football. But the Premier League is a great place to ply your trade. I mean, if you look at the great managers that are in the Premier League at this moment in time, to pit your wits against them on a weekly basis was a great challenge for them.
Then, would you say some managers are better at keeping certain clubs in the Premier League as opposed to bringing them up?
I think the remit or the challenge for some, maybe even 12 Premier League clubs, is to stay in the division, and then the remit for 6 or 7 is to qualify for the Champions League, and maybe 2 or 3 to win the title. That's not to say none of the 20 can win the title. You know, Manchester United have always been favourites, Chelsea, but now all of a sudden you're looking at Manchester City, you're looking at Tottenham. At the start of the season, maybe Sunderland had big ambitions. You know, Everton. You know, these teams are now making the top 4 stranglehold a little bit less tighter, you know. So now Liverpool have to do a great second half to the season to get into the Champions League. So I think the Premier League has been more interesting this year. In terms of, you know, the campaign for to survive or to stay in there, it's a difficult one, because sometimes you go into a weekend's fixture and knowing full well that you can't win that game, you know, because you're playing against the best in the world. So sometimes you have to sacrifice that and maybe take something else out of the game, such as pride, you know, pride in a performance. But, you know, I think it's a very exciting division this year. Possibly the three teams that got promoted this year have surprised everybody. And it's very rare that you can say all 3 newly promoted teams can be successful. It's normally 1 or 2, but never, you know, not normally 3. And I think the last time that 3 actually did get promoted was when we got promoted with Bolton Wanderers. Bolton Wanderers, Blackburn and Fulham in 2000-2001. And them 3 teams survived the first year and the second year, and now they're still in the Premier League. So, you know, you can achieve greatness if you really believe.
So now that you're in Asia, is there any chance of perhaps coaching a national team in the near future?
Well, I've made no secret of the fact that I would like to coach and manage abroad. I think what we have here is beautiful sunshine. When the sun shines in England, it makes a better coaching room, you know, because now you have players on the training ground that are listening. You go back to England at the moment, it's -9, -10, and the players are like this, and they want to get back in the changing room. Sometimes, coaching is difficult, but yeah, I would like to coach abroad one day, but I've also got unfinished business in England as well.
Then finally, a question for the parents, perhaps. What advice do you give parents who pride academics more than sports?
I think I've always been a big fan of academia, and I believe in education all the way through my career. Albeit I was a professional footballer, I still educated myself. I went to coaching clinics. I also, had a restaurant, so I had to learn that game, that trade. I also qualified as an electrician, so I had to keep on learning. So all the way through my career, I've continued to learn. I emphasise to all the parents to make sure that education runs in parallel with sports, not one above the other. The success rate in professional football from apprenticeship through to playing professional football is only 2%. So there's a big failure rate, 98% actually fall by the wayside. So it's important that you keep on the education front, keep pursuing all avenues until somebody actually says, no, you're not good enough. But at the same time, say for instance yesterday, I spoke with one parent, a Japanese lady, and her son's a very talented boy. And you can't build their hopes up too much, because maybe at 9 and 10 and 11, it seems a long, long way away, to play Premier League football or to play professional football. So I would always encourage to keep every avenue open